Hello and welcome to another episode of the djproject Criterion Collection. And here we're going to talk about Spine 578, the Complete Jean Vigo. Whenever I look at him or think about him, I can't help but think of a line from Blade Runner. It's what Tyrell tells Roy Batty. He says, "The light that burns twice as bright burns for half as long." And that really is the best way to succinctly describe him. Vigo was the son of a noted anarchist at the time, and he spent most of his life, running with his parents, fleeing from one thing to the next. Eventually his father was imprisoned and was later killed in prison when he was 12, I think. And then somehow ended up being able to make films, but sadly he died at the age of 29 from complications due to tuberculosis, and has only made 4 films. 3 of them are short, and his lone feature. But it's one of those careers where even though his total output, the total runtime of all of his film output only lasts 160 minutes. It's a very inspiring 160 minutes. He helped to, whether intentionally or not, he ushered in poetic realism, and he also served as a kind of godfather to the French New Wave. Particularly with Truffaut. Truffaut was really fascinated by Vigo's films. So without further ado, I'll get into the complete works of Jean Vigo. The first film he ever did was a short film called Propos de Nice, and it was a very subversive travelogue, if you like. It was heavily inspired by Bolshevik films, and it's all done to illuminate a particular social condition. In fact, the cinematographer on this and on all of Vigo's films was Boris Kaufman, who would, much later on in his life, would shoot for such films as On the Waterfront and 12 Angry Men. But he's also the brother of David Kaufman, who is better known as Dzega Vertov. Yes, the man with the movie camera. In fact, Apropos de Nice was shot and edited in a way like the man with the movie camera, and as both. Well, as a tribute to both that style and also to him. These are images that contrast the seemingly exciting yet boring life of the upper class and the struggle with those who are living in the slums, and all in the coastal town of Nice. And I think this is kind of the you can also sort of see this as the origins of any and all memes. In that respect, I guess you could call Jean Vigo the unintended godfather of 4chan. Not just by this film, but by the others. The next film he did, there's different titles. There's different titles for it. It could be simply called Taris. It's also referred to as La Natation par Jean Taris, or Taris Raw de la Haut. Basically, it's 9 minutes, and it's really a study of swimming motion, and the star of this is the champion swimmer at the time, Jean Taris. Basically, this is really no different than what Jean Pandelev would do with his films about aspects of nature. Just a film that's both true to its subject, but also is not afraid to be silly and entertaining. And this is really no different. There's, you know, there's lots of lots of silliness in there. And then the next film, is a big influence, is Zéro de conduite, or Zero for Conduct, made in 1933, and technically it's considered a short film. But even though it's about 41 minutes or so, but it's the story of a group of rebellious students at a boarding school wanting to start an insurrection. Sound familiar? And yes, because this is the film that would inspire If. And Lindsay Anderson made no apologies or had no reservations in citing that as a major influence. And this would also influence the 400 Blows. As I said before, Vigo is a kind of cinematic godfather to the Nouvelle Vague, and particularly with Truffaut. Though the thing about that film, it was so subversive that it was actually banned by the French government until after the war, and then it became this big revival and everything. And Vigo got his due. That's the other thing about Vigo is that in his lifetime he had to go through a lot of crap. Then of course he died due to tuberculosis, but it took a couple decades to give him his due, and and now he's considered an unusually important figure in cinema history. So, but anyway, Zéro de conduite. Yeah, it's rebellious schoolboys. So again, if you feel like going against the school, then there you go. And then finally, his only feature film he made was El Talante, which the story is it's about a newly married couple, and the husband is actually the skipper of a barge that makes trade runs all along the I forget which, probably this, most likely it's the Seine, but he just goes up and down France and doing trade, and he's newly married, and it's part strange surreal. It's a surreal love story. It's kind of the best way to describe it. And there's I kind of got the sense that the journey is sort of a parallel to other things that are going on. The initial thrill and charm, but also the difficulties and tensions that can arise in a relationship. It's just a very very playful, surreal, charming love story. Is really what it is, and not afraid to hint at sex. Again, there's nothing pornographic. There's not anything really that subversive. But there's a moment where there's a momentary separation between a physical separation between the couple, and they both miss each other and they long for each other, and it's said and done in so many ways that both of them are lonely, and both of them are also horny as well. But again, it's not it's not played up for sex. I mean, then again, this is France. France are not afraid of talking about it or showcasing it. So, again, I got this because I wanted to again fill some gaps. It's a very very convenient collection of films, but at the same time, but it all goes back to what I said earlier. The light that burns twice as bright burns for half as long. You know, it's you know, it is influential. It's very, you know, it has a presence that it's made its way in other films, but and it's also really impressive that you're able to get to that kind of status even with as short of a career as Vigo had, and as short of a life as he had, and as very unusual and unconventional. I mean, he has had. I mean, talk about talk about going against the norms. I mean, he definitely has that. So, it definitely, you know, it definitely planted a lot of seeds. And there's only so much that you can really say about seeds. So, it's, you know, it's. No, I would definitely say it's worth checking out. Certainly, Zéro de conduite. Though, because it's in the, I believe it's sort of in the copyright is kind of was. You can get it on Internet Archive. There is a version of it with, and including with English subtitles. So if you want to see the film for yourself to kind of get an idea of what that's all about, then you know you can easily see that. But he's definitely a worthy figure of note, considering the reach of his influence. You know, again, he was there with the French New Wave, and he was a favorite of Lindsay Anderson's as well. So yeah. The Complete Jean Vigo. And until next time, take care.